those molten effects. Yeah, you're right. Look at the effects. You see
I
it?
think that.
Do you see it, Jeff?
I am so impressed with.
So Devstream 180 has just ended, which means we have a lot, and I mean a lot to talk about. So let's just jump right into it, shall we? Make sure and mark your calendars for June the 18th. That is when Jade Shadows will arrive, which is the next Warframe cinematic quest, the next major update. But just to kind of whet your appetite, here is a tiny teaser that they showed on today's dev stream as well. Now, I'm not sure if that whisper at the end of that with Stalker said Soren or Soren or Zoren. Upgraded Zorens would be pretty cool, but as we know, this quest is going to be heavily based around Stalker's lore. Now, you will need the new war completed to take part in the Jade Shadows quest. There's going to be new weapons, new Warframe, new game mode, new clan operation, new Arcanes, Augments, frame buffs, enemy health and armor changes, heirloom, new heirloom skin, and plenty of quality of life changes. Now, this is the new Warframe Jade, and she looks incredibly powerful. Jade is going to be a support-based Warframe. She is kind of angelic or seraphim. She's the light counterpart to Stalker's dark, and who better to describe how she works and her abilities than past Pablo, so praise be.
Hello. I'm here to show you Jade, our latest Warframe, and what she is all about. There she is, look at her. So what she's about, she's a support frame. She has protection for allies, she has debuffs against enemies, and then she packs a punch with her fourth. So let's start with her passive. Her passive has two parts. The first part, I'm probably going to show an image somewhere around here, is that she has two mod slots that are dedicated to auras. So basically you can put any two auras that you want, you can just throw them in there. Both of them increase the capacity, so obviously she's kind of easier to build because of that. They affect all allies and enemies just like any aura would. The other part of her passive is that her 1 and her 4th apply a debuff to enemies they hit. Her first ability creates this zone over here, and as you can see, that's where that is. And while I'm inside the zone, you can see in the upper right I have that little indicator there. That means that I'm taking healing over time as long as I'm inside. And when I leave, you can see it now goes from infinite duration to a set duration, similar to how it works with Wisp and her modes. Essentially, while you're in the area, they last forever. Once you get out, it changes. You can have up to 3 of these zones. And for enemies, when you throw it to them, basically it'll deal damage over time, and it will mark them with your passive, which is what I was talking about earlier, which basically increases how much damage they take from all sources. For her second ability, she has 3 different auras that you can select from. So if I activate it here, you can see I get squad shield effectiveness, and you can see my overshields are growing until they reach the cap. Now, if I can switch my aura without having to recast, so it costs me no energy. So I just switch to this one, which this increases my ability strength. And as you can see, I actually kept the overshield, so you can actually kind of do some strategery things there. Also, you can do the same with this power strength one, because you can, for example, right now you could cast her 3 or her 4th or her 1, which will snapshot the power strength that she has right now. And then after that, you could switch to the other aura, which is weapon damage increase for the squad. So you are kind of incentivized to swap around the auras as you need them. Again, it costs you no energy to swap the aura. It's just the initial cast that costs you. For her third ability, any enemy that's on her site gets slowed down and gets their armor removed. So you can see these guys now are moving quite slowly, and their armor is now gone, and they're basically at the mercy of my gaze. For the ally part of this ability, we have this. You can see Mark is over there. He died. He's one of the designers working on Jade, and I can just use my third ability and I can revive him at a distance just by looking at him. It's my very, very powerful sight. And finally, she takes flight. As you can see, she moves kind of similar to Hildren, but way faster. She can move around quite a bit. This is actually an exalted weapon, so you can just shoot enemies with it. As you can see, does quite a bit of damage. Or you can mark them with your 1, and then you can use your Outfire to detonate them for ludicrous amounts of damage. So yeah, as you can see, with her force, she does pack quite a bit of punch. So that's it for Jade. To recap, her passive has two parts. One is she has 2 aura mod slots. 2 is her 1 and her 4th apply a debuff to enemies, makes them take extra damage. Then her first ability is a large zone that she can create that deals damage over time and applies that passive to either enemies or allies. Her second ability has 3 different auras that you can cycle through. One is power strength, the other is weapon damage, the other is boosted shields. The third ability is anything you look at gets slowed down, armor stripped, shield stripped, and if there's a falling ally, you can revive them just by looking at them. And finally, her 4th, you take flight, you do a ton of damage with your exalted weapon, and with your outfire, you can detonate any enemies that are already marked by your passive.
Now, there is a lot to take away from what Pablo had to say about her, or when he showcased her. She is the first Warframe to have 2 aura slots, making her easier to mod or build, because it will, of course, increase her capacity. Her third ability is the Subsumed ability, except the revive portion of that ability, you're not going to be able to use that when it's subsumed. Her ultimate ability does look pretty powerful. It can shoot at the ground, kind of like what Hildryn, except they said she moves faster than Hildryn. I really honestly just can't wait to get my hands on her and build her myself and see which way I want to build, whether some community members are probably going to lean towards support and others will lean towards damage. Am I kidding? Everyone's going to lean toward damage. Now, her ensemble buff apparently will work with her 3 signature weapons. If she has all 3 signature weapons equipped, and apparently you use the special effect on each of those weapons, you will buff your entire squad. We don't know what that buff is, but these are her Harmony Scythe, her Cantare throwing knives, and her bow, the Evensong. Everything you see on screen with these from stats on that are placeholder, and Pablo even mentioned that some of these stats have already been changed since the dev build, which are shown off on stream. Now remember, Jade is the light to Stalker's dark, which is why she's coming with 3 signature weapons in the same way that Stalker has his 3 signature weapons. But she is also coming with an alternate helmet, the Aerolt helmet, I think they said it was called. There is a new game mode coming with the Jade Shadows update called Ascension. And this is Warframe's take on a vertical mission type. Instead of moving through the mission, I guess, on ground horizontal through the whole tile set, you're going to be going vertical. It is not an endless mission type, which is a shame, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun nonetheless. There is an elevator that needs to be fueled with energy to work, but you're going to need to fight off the corpus as they jump onto your elevator, apparently from their elevator, in order to stop you. So you need to keep fueling this elevator. It's similar to a hijack mission without the need to stay close to the energy pod. You're going to ride the elevator up to the top with fighting off all of these corpus as they jump on. And Pablo also mentioned a mini-boss and a lot of Jade Eximus units toward the end of this mission. So apparently it is going to get hectic. Now, the idea of an elevator mission that you're constantly fighting enemies as you're on your way up to the top reminds me a little bit of some of the missions, I think, in Destiny, but also Godfall. If you've ever played Godfall, there is an endgame mission type where you're in an elevator and it's constantly stopping at floors and letting waves of enemies on that you need to kill in order to, I guess, unlock the next floor. So it kind of gives me that idea. However, the mission type isn't endless. It's just whatever it is and then you have to leave. Now, of course, this new game mode is also bringing us the new clan event, the Belly of the Beast, where new Jade Light Eximus units will be running in this mission chasing you, and their attacks have to be avoided. Basically, dodge the Jade Light beams. No idea what they do to us if they hit us. Orders for the Belly of the Beast mode will be in a relay for the new Ascension clan event. He will be the vendor and how you actually run this event. He is also where you will get Jade parts and, of course, weapon parts as well. The pity system for those tokens. There are 3 ephemeras going to be on offer with this clan event, the Asteria and the 2 upgraded versions. These are basically the community reward goal for this clan event. So it is community-wide event in order to earn those rewards. It is not clan specific. Everyone is going to have to pull together within the entire community to unlock these rewards. This is the Jade Light Eximus skin that they showed off for the Hate Scythe as well, and it looks really cool. Now, during this event, they have also said there is going to be limited Arcanes for you to get your hands on. Arcanes that they're bringing back from past clan events, but you're only going to be able to get 2 full sets. This apparently is in order to stop players from burning out during the clan event, because players last time went a little bit nuts and played for, I guess, crazy amounts of time. but it's also probably something to do with to stop the trade market being killed and maybe affect platinum sales at the same time, because Arcanes play a huge part within trade chat, and I guess if it gets flooded with Arcanes, prices fall, less platinum on offer. You get what I mean? But at the same time, burnout can be real, and the last thing you want to do is burn yourself out in the game, put it down after the clan event, and not come back until the next major update. Now, we know they are also adding some pretty big armor and status changes with the Jade Shadows update. Armor and health scaling are being adjusted, so there's going to be a new enemy armor cap and effective health scaling. There is also going to be enhancements to lesser used status effects. Cold procs are going to freeze enemies completely, which will then double the crit damage that those enemies will take. For blast damage, now when an enemy gets a blast proc, it has a delay before a secondary explosion which deals a percentage of that initial blast proc. But if you get maximum stacks of blast or you kill the enemy affected by that blast proc, then it will add all of that damage together and explode in an AoE, hopefully hitting enemies around it. Magnetic damage is also being changed. Its damage scaling now works on shields and overguard enemies, making it a really good option against Eximus units. It also apparently has a static charge effect that will shock enemies at the end of it and give them an electric shock and status proc. So magnetic looks like a very good option now, especially with things like Archon Stretch for energy regen once enemies have an electric proc on them, because that's going to hopefully trigger that as well. As a result of the cold proc changes, however, Frost is now getting some pretty big buffs as well due to those changes. Frost will now spread actual cold procs, because apparently before this they weren't proper cold procs, which will last longer. Frost used to stop enemies getting ragdolled when they were frozen, but that's also going to be a thing of the past. Now they're going to make sure that that will be working, allowing enemies to be ragdolled while they're frozen. So you can expect frozen statues being ragdolled by your abilities. Frost's first ability is going to have a bigger radius and more range. His globe is getting changed to allow us to finally be able to shoot through the snow globe from outside into it, whereas before this we could only shoot out of the snow globe. His passive has been also changed. His armor will now scale based on the amount of enemies near him that are affected by cold procs. So Frost is about to get even better than he was before. In fact, he's probably going to be insane. Now, there is also changes to how enemy shields will function with recharging and delays of their shields. Damage vulnerability used to stack with the old skin type system that's getting changed with the new armor and health change values for enemies with this update, and this caused certain abilities to go above the vulnerability cap, which was wasted percentages, but that's now about to get its own thing as well. But to be fair, that only really affects a few Warframe abilities, so we'll see how that plays out. Enemy armor does not go beyond 2700 with this update. That means 90% damage reduction at 2700 for those enemies, but if you add 10 stacks of corrosive, enemies' damage reduction will now be down at 40%, whereas before these changes, if they had 10 stacks, they would still be well over 60% damage reduction. So it is having a considerable amount of a change to how enemies will have damage reduction with this update. Which brings us to the Heirloom skins, right? Heirloom 2024, or is it Heirloom? Heirloom? I'm going to just say it opposite ways, so I'm going to get it right half of the time. Last year, DE revealed Heirloom skins and it went horribly wrong, right? They were overpriced. The community really weren't impressed, so they've gone and they've changed how heirlooms work. This is the next Heirloom skin for Ember. This design is based on a fan art that DE just bought out from a community artist in order to add it into the game. From this point onwards, heirlooms will be one Warframe at a time, not two like Frost and Mag, and it is launching at Tennocon. This is what you can get in the Heirloom bundle. You're going to be able to get the skin, the sigma, the glyph, the sigil, and so on. However, how you acquire it has also been drastically changed. It's going to be on offer in two ways. One of the ways is for $24.99 US, which is way cheaper than last year's. This is also going to come with 450 platinum in the bundle, but you can also buy the heirloom skin and its items separately, and every heirloom bundle from Ember onwards for platinum, and it will stay in the market forever. Frost and Mag's heirlooms won't be added back into the game in this way. You're not going to be able to get those. It is only for future heirlooms. So make sure and let me know in the comment section below what you think of these changes. Now, this is the Yareli Deluxe skin, the Pandea skin. I'm not going to lie, I prefer this to her base skin. Also, it's got cake for days. This is coming with the Jade Shadows update as well. Also, let me know what you think of it, because I know some players really don't like this. There are 4 new augments coming with this update as well. This is them. There is Protea's Blaze Augment, Sevagot's Soul Augment, Dagat's Grave Spirit Augment, and Corvex's Containment Wall Augment. Now, the Protea Augment has the turret that apparently follows you around, and we did see a clip that they showed off, which makes it look insanely powerful. Pablo even joked that he will probably regret this, and it's going to need nerfing in a year's time, so enjoy it while it lasts. Now, there are also 5 new Arcanes coming with this update, which you can get in the new Ascension game mode, that clan event mode, and off the pity system as well if you want to, I guess, buy them. Arcane Ice Storm is looking like a very nice choice with the changes to cold that are coming with this update, and the changes to frost, and the fact that we've got the Glaxion as well that was recently added, the Tenet one. But it's the one that obviously stood out for everyone during the dev stream. Now, there are also new Deviri decrees coming with this update, which are from the Design Council in Warframe. There are also new UI changes coming with the game as well. The ability to duplicate a build onto another config is coming, along with a polarity hint if you've modded wrong in the wrong polarity. There is a lot of new subsets of stats symbols to let you know that some of the stats have gone down because you've changed your build. Basically, it's just extra information to help players better understand their builds, how to improve, or what stats went up, what stats went down. You can now see what augments frames can have that you can get your hands on their ability screen in the codex, and it will tell you where you can get these augments as well. There is going to be a community fashion spotlight choice when you, I guess, go into your Warframe's appearance, which will allow you to pick from a community's fashion and implement that onto your Warframe. Initially, this is only going to be for starter Warframes and Jade, but eventually they're going to roll it out as many as possible. There is a quick select wheel is going to be more available in different places. There is HUD scaling coming to allow you to make your HUD smaller if you prefer, I guess, a minimalistic view. There is distance enemy damage scaling coming, which I'm quite excited for, because on the left is how it is now, and on the right is how it's going to be once this is implemented into the game, and you're actually going to be able to see your enemy, what you're aiming at. He's not going to be covered by bloody damage numbers if he's too far away, because the damage numbers are bigger than the feckin' enemy. Color pickers for beginner Warframe is also going to be a choice when you're on that new player. Which frame are you going to pick? You can choose between different colors. You will be able to change your loadout from the navigation menu, so you can swap around your configurations when you're picking which planet you want to go to, instead of having to fast travel back down to the arsenal or run back down to it if you've got a config set up. There are also quality of life changes coming with the update. Adversary pruning is liches and sisters will now have a cap. There's pathos clamps, which are coming as a reward now, or going to be given as a reward in the Deviri portals, and many, many more. We also got to see the Tennocon schedule for each of the panels. This is it. First ever Soulframe dev stream is starting off today, and of course it's going to end with the dev stream and the day's big reveals right at the very end, with the sounds of the game and all that in between. But that's pretty much a breakdown of everything that was shown off on the dev stream. Let me know what you liked the look of or what you didn't. Have a great day, and as always, thanks for watching.